welcome to this week's Cruise Chat. I'm Kathleen Penner, owner of Plenty of Sunshine Travel, and today I'm joined by Guillaume, and Guillaume is from Oceania Cruises. I'm sure I butchered your name, and I apologize if I did. And I've had the pleasure to meet with him before. If you want to go back and look at our playlist, you'll see all the episodes that we had before, but do come back to this one because we've got some really, really exciting things to talk about. So over to you.
Hi, yes. So actually, Guillaume was my first name. No worries. And with Oceania Cruises, I'm actually celebrating my fourth year anniversary with Oceania. So last couple of years definitely have been quite interesting overall. But yeah, we are now kind of fully back in the water. So one of our new kind of taglines is that we're back, which is fantastic. So
it is.
We have now all 6 ships in the fleet back into the water. They're all sailing. And yeah, they're so far so good. I mean, we've got really great feedback from past guests. One of the big things that we've really been seeing of late, and it's kind of a combination of quite a few different types of sales that we've had recently, is we're actually introducing more new to brand guests than we have really in our past almost 20 years of existence here. So it's really exciting to not only welcome back our existing guests who have been really wanting to come back to us, but really welcoming those new guests and they're kind of now living Oceania and really getting to know what we're really all about. So it's very exciting in that regard there.
Yeah, and I can see why they would come to you guys because you have such more space per person.
That's right. Yeah,
aren't the massive 5,000 people ships. It's smaller, but yet it feels larger because you've got so much more room for yourself.
Yeah, it kind of almost feels kind of counterintuitive. Like, why should I kind of go onto a smaller ship? But even though it's a smaller size tonnage wise, as you mentioned, the square footage per guest is usually works out better than some of these larger vessels of 4,000 or 5,000 passengers.
Right.
And really, that's probably been one of the biggest attractions to Oceania in the last definitely kind of 18 months, is that so many people are kind of still have the confidence to sail, but maybe kind of gone are the days of them being on a vessel of 3,000 or 4,000 passengers. A lot of people have talked about kind of wanting to have more manageable numbers, and definitely the way at Oceania we try and deliver ports slightly differently as well, is kind of what we call one of our pillars, where we try to get into more unique destinations than definitely the larger cruise lines tend to do. And because of our size, we can simply get into smaller ports of call that those large ships simply can't get into. But not only that, even actually my hometown is actually Vancouver, BC. And we're a prime example of what we do in Vancouver, in that you'll very rarely see us in Vancouver over the course of the weekend, because that's when everybody else is in. So we try and get into these large ports of call on days that the large ships aren't there, to kind of give that, even though it's a larger port, we try and give it that more exclusive feel. So even if you are seeing some of these larger ports of calls on our itineraries, we're trying to do it in a slightly different way. So yeah, that's really been one of the
smart way to do it. Yeah, because even as you're going along to your ports, then you're hitting them at different days than the mega ships. So that's so much better. Yeah. And plus, I mean, the smaller ports, you can't beat those. They're just fabulous to go to those.
Really. I mean, that's one of our huge attractions as well. For example, even our largest ships, so we have 2 different styles of ship. We've got 4 ships that are only 650 passengers, and then we have 2 at just over 1,200 passengers. And even our largest 1,200 passenger ship, we can actually sail down the Amazon. We've got sailing towards the end of this year that's going from Miami down to Rio de Janeiro, and we sail a full 7 days on the Amazon with the marina. So yeah, we really try and kind of help those different ports of call.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I'd love to go on that one. That's really, that would be unique. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't often repeat a lot of sailings. I mean, typically that is definitely one that we do every, pretty much we try to do that one every single year. The other kind of iconic one that we tend to do, we do a really interesting Dubai down to Cape Town sailing. And that one's always really, really popular.
Yeah.
Not only just because of the ports of call that we're entering into, but
Mhm.
we can also do these land programs like pre and post where you can actually even leave the ship for a few days and go off on an African safari and meet up with the ship prior to the end of this cruise. So there's
That's incredible.
Oceania, we really try and do things kind of differently,
Mhm.
and again, that's kind of a prime example of what we do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's incredible. Like to go and see a safari, while
Yes.
you're on a cruise, because a lot of people are like, no, that's land. You're not going to be able to see that. But you created an itinerary that they could do that. And that's great.
Yeah, exactly. And we definitely, one of the trends that we really have seen in the last kind of 18 months is that when people are now coming back, obviously I mentioned a lot of new to brand guests,
Mhm.
which we're really enjoying seeing coming to Oceania. But we are seeing not only just our existing guests, but everybody seems to want to be taking longer sailings than they have ever before.
Yeah.
I think obviously people are kind of making up for lost time and
Mhm.
the inability to have been able to travel in the last couple of years. People are looking at these longer sailings. Typically as a cruise line, our average sailing is kind of in around about that 11 to 12 day range.
Mhm.
But we do have a few different types of sailings that range from as short as 7 days all the way up to our world cruise of 180 days. And we have actually launched, and coinciding with our world cruise, a whole bunch of what we call our grand voyages,
Mhm.
culminating in one that I think is fantastic. It's Abu Dhabi through to Japan for 82 days.
Wow.
Really picking up, that fantastic Asian culture. You're
Mhm.
visiting through India, you're going into Myanmar and then to Thailand. You're going into Borneo, really picking up, the pearls of Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
as they say,
Oh, goodness.
and then heading up
Mhm.
into Korea, and then finishing up with a few different ports in Japan. So there's those really, again, longer sailings, but
Mhm.
with a real interest on the ports of call that they're visiting there as well. So again, a
That's
real big trend that we've been seeing this year is these our guests taking these longer sailings more than ever
yeah.
before.
Oh, that would be incredible. I would definitely have to bring some extra memory cards because to see all that culture and all that would just, oh my goodness, my camera would be taking thousands of pictures.
Yeah, and really,
Yeah.
that's kind of a culmination of what we try and do is that
Mhm.
we when we're going into these destinations too, we bring along what we call our enrichment team,
Mhm.
which we really try and focus in with great entertainment, what we call kind of edutainment, in
Yes.
that we bring lecturers on board who will speak to either the local cultures or
Mhm.
activities that are happening within those destinations, that to immerse you more, to give you more knowledge about those destinations. Definitely, like the Oceania guest is very much like a doer, and they want to learn more.
Mhm.
And really, a lot of the time when we're doing these different in-depth sailings, we're bringing these lecture series on board. They're very kind of TED Talk styles lectures that they'll have every other day,
Mhm.
to kind of generate that interest around the destinations that you're visiting into
Yeah.
as well. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's a whole kind of experience encompassed
Mhm.
into one.
Yeah, that's fabulous that you bring those back on board and you get to, see the actual culture that you're going to be exploring so that you can learn about it and then go knowing full well what to expect and also learning because there's sometimes when you travel, you're not totally sure because some of the countries women have to wear skirts or head coverings as they go to the mosques or the churches. So it's important to teach them that before they go too, so that you're
Exactly.
making sure that everything's really great when you do go.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
actually, again, that's another thing that we've introduced into this year is part of our shore excursions. We're trying to introduce kind of more in-depth shore excursions into the places that we're going to, and we've launched a couple of different styles of new shore excursions that will do that. So one that we were just introducing pre-pandemic, but have continued to
Mhm.
grow, is what we call our Go Local.
Okay.
So when you're in the ports of call, we're really trying to immerse you as the locals live,
Mhm.
and try and get you into activities that the locals will do in that particular destination. So for example, you know, if we are in the south of France, we'll take you off with a farmer. He'll take you away into the forests, and with his dog you'll go truffle hunting. Again, really trying to immerse you into that destination. Again, I've got a really popular one in Tuscany, where we take you off to a farmhouse this time. You learn to kind of cook pasta with grandma. So again, really immersing you into that destination. Beyond that as well, we're introducing, again, the type of guest that Oceania has is like, we cater to quite a lot of ex kind of engineers and people that have a real interest in the architecture of the places that they're going into. So
work.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got a new short excursion called Beyond Blueprints, which you know, we're not just going to take you into like Barcelona and be like, oh, here's the Gaudi buildings, here's the Sagrada Familia church. We actually will take you in, and it's a proper study of the architecture in that specifically in those destinations that goes more in depth than ever before. So again, generating that kind of specialized interest almost into those destinations too. And then the last one that's becoming ever more popular is called the Go Green, where we're going to go into the destinations and look at the environmental impact and the environmental studies of those particular destinations, and where either the local governments are introducing programs that are quite interesting, again, to that local area, where it's a general study around about the environmental impact of how those different regions are trying to make things greener, essentially. So again, really kind of in-depth types of shore excursions that are a little bit different than the norm, and again are generating a lot of interest with our guests because of the kind of specificity of those as well.
I absolutely love that. You know, I love learning how things work and all that, but not only that, the green, that's fabulous. Wow. Because I, you know, myself, I have backyard chickens. I love to can and have my garden, because it's so important to me to know where my food comes from and what's in it. And it's the same thing with not only that, but, you know, just how the impact is on the environment. So your Go Green would be right up my alley kind of thing.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned food, and you know, you can't really mention Oceania without mentioning our cuisine. And really, again, that's one of our pillars, is that we really try to deliver the finest cuisine at sea. And I know every cruise line talks about how great their cuisine is, but at Oceania, we'd really try and be, you know, a step above everybody else. You know, as such, we really try and start with a few different things, where that starts with the ingredients itself. So as a cruise line, we actually spend more on ingredients than any other cruise line out there. And again, you know, going back to your point there, Kathleen, as well, we try and source locally as much as we can. I have a great story. You know, I have a guest of mine who was like, I just love the cruise line, because every single morning I would go to the chef and be like, what's for dinner tonight, chef? And the chef often would come back to the guest and be like, actually, you know what? I don't know. I'm going off into the market today. I'll let you know later on, because I'll let you know what I picked up, and I'll let you know what's going to be the specialty for tonight. So, you know, that's one of our pillars that we really try and emphasize on. And not only that, not just the ingredients itself, but we cook à la minute. Because we're a smaller cruise line, you know, we're not one of these operations where we have to cater to 3,000 or 4,000 people in an evening. You know, and to be ready for 3,000 or 4,000 people, we need to start prepping at 6 a.m. to be ready for 6 p.m. No, we're cooking there and then on the spot for you. And that goes a long way into making a big difference in the taste for you. Because we're only really catering for, you know, as I say, 650 or 1,250 passengers. And we've got great crew to guest ratios there as well. You know, again, just to kind of give you the importance of the food side of things on Oceania, for even though 1,250 guests may sound like quite a lot, we have roughly around about 800 to 900 crew on board that vessel. of which half of them are dedicated to the culinary side of things alone.
Okay.
So it shows you kind of the importance that we put on our food preparation and how we make those meals for you. So again, that really distinguishes us to kind of create that memory for you to come back and chat about how great the food is from Oceania Cruises.
And you know, the short excursion where you're learning how to make the pasta, so then you can bring that back home and reminisce of when I was on my cruise, we made this, so let's taste the authentic flavors.
Exactly.
And also with them getting all of their ingredients from the port that you're in, those fresh spices. Like you cannot beat fresh spices versus, you know, the dry.
Well,
and
that's really it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cook a Greek meal at home, but there's nothing like actually making a Greek meal whilst you're in Greece,
right.
Using those fresh ingredients. It really makes and hits home on the difference there for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it makes a huge, huge, huge difference.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean that's really kind of what we've been our kind of mantra at Oceania Cruises. But one trend that I might actually chat to you about as well today is that we as a cruise line, we're booking again. One of our trends is that we're booking further out than ever before. You know, the availability for 2023 is actually way beyond where we were in 2019 for our 2020. So and 2019 was actually going to be a record-setting year for Oceania in terms of the numbers of guests that we were going to bring. But we're now way in advance of that, and there's a couple of reasons for that. As mentioned, people are booking further out in advance than ever before.
Right. Yes.
Additionally to that, we actually launched a new vessel back in September of 2021. Sorry, I'm trying to get my dates all lined up here.
Everything during that horrible sea time, everything gets
Exactly.
mixed up. It's just, I don't even want to say the C word, but I mean, it's like
Exactly.
pre or post, and it's hard to remember the dates. So
we announced this new vessel, and it's actually going to be, and it's crazy because it seems so long ago, but it's going to be sailing next April in 2023.
Wow.
So it's almost just around the corner. So yeah, we're really excited in regards to that. But as such, the demand is kind of outstripping right now, or the supply is almost getting outstripped by the demand, and that people are really wanting to sail with Oceania. So as such, we've kind of responded in like. This year, we've launched our Around the World for 180 days for 2024. The popularity of that was beyond anything that we've ever expected before. And we actually set a new record at Oceania in that we sold it out within 30 minutes. So the full 180 days was sold out within 30 minutes. Now, obviously, the demand on that has been so crazy that we're actually going to announce the launching of our Around the World for 2025 this fall. So again, a really unprecedented expectation from us in that we have never launched 2 around the world sailings in the same calendar year. So it's really guests are asking for these sailings farther out than ever before. And we're kind of responding in like. So we have a lot of itineraries out for 2024. We're going to be introducing that new 2025 itinerary. And as we get towards the end of the year as well, there'll be more 2025 itineraries available for guests. So, you know, for your forward thinkers there, and for those guests as well who are kind of still not quite in the position where they're looking to kind of travel just immediately, there is those itineraries further down the road that you maybe want to plan toward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And any of you who are watching this and listening, you know, reach out to me. I'll get you on the list, the waiting list. And the second it opens, I'll make sure that you're on, and I'll call in and get you on board too. So
absolutely. You know, that's one of the things I always have advisors phone in to me and they're asking, oh, you know, what's the best plan of attack here? I've got a couple of strategies that can assist, you know, and getting secured some space. So yeah, it's you know, it's always very exciting whenever those gets launched. Obviously, we do it in a structured way, in that what we tend to do is we usually announce it roughly about a month prior to it being launched. A week prior to the actual launch itself, we open up the itinerary so everybody can preview it. All the pricing is available at that point. So really, you've got that 1 week window and where you can kind of get all your ducks in a row, decide where and which stateroom you want to be in. And then on the launch day itself, it opens up and everybody's kind of ready to go for it. And then, yeah, it's always really interesting on those launch days for sure. It keeps us busy.
Absolutely. Yeah, the phones must be going absolutely crazy that morning. But I love, Oceania, how you do that. We can deal with one particular advisor on the phone. So,
Exactly,
we call that extension and we just get through instantly. And they're used to working with us and we them. So the relationship is there, and that's the importance of using a travel advisor.
And again, it's a total mantra as well, in that we not only we encompass this professional relationship building from the business side of things, but it's what keeps guests coming back again and again on board. Really, our crew, they make such a fantastic job of our guests, where we have guests that will actually try and specifically follow crew from cruise to cruise because they have developed such a great relationship with them that they keep coming back. So it's always so interesting in that regard too.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's great, because then you get used to that certain person and they know you and you've got that relationship.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. And that is small ship cruising. Like you're not going to get that on the mega ships, that personalized attention. And I find whenever I'm small ship cruising, it's kind of funny because you're like, oh, I wish I had. And you start thinking about it. And all of a sudden it's there. It's like they can read your mind. It's like, how did you know I was going to ask for that? But it's the relationships and it's amazing.
Absolutely. It's like a small community almost traveling together. I myself, actually, I was lucky enough to be on an Alaska sailing just a couple of weeks ago. And it was great. There was, we had our little group of guests that we shared an experience with, which was great. And again, the crew were always delivering. They were always so happy. And it was funny. I was actually on with my kids, which you don't typically see an awful lot of kids on board. There was 5 kids in total on board my sailing specifically, and all the crew members, they were always like, "Oh, it's so nice to see some kids on board."
Doting on them, yeah,
exactly. So.
Oh, that's great.
But typically as a cruise line, we don't have an awful lot of kids that are sailing with us. But we just still allows kids on board if needs be.
And it's good to bring your kids to Alaska too, because there's so much culture and the wildlife, and they would just love it. It would be.
Well, again, it goes back into the trying to immerse ourselves into that destination. We had a fantastic naturalist on board who they actually allowed for her to go up onto the bridge, and she was actually making announcements from the bridge whenever we were sailing up the inside passage or sailing into kind of the further open water, so that whenever she spotted a whale, she was able to announce that to the top deck and to the lounges, so that everybody could kind of go on one side and see where the whales were breaching. And it was great. She delivered such an interesting talk on the whales of Alaska. And one thing that I thought was awesomely cute was she got off on one of the ports called Huna, which definitely it's in the wilds of Alaska. And what she did, she brought back some snow for some of the crew members, because some of the crew members come from all over the world and have never seen snow before. So they actually got to feel snow and pick it up. And so it was a really nice little moment there.
That's
for sure.
True. We take that for granted. I mean, I live in Southern Ontario and we get snow. Like there's a lot of snow. So I'm just so used to it, right? Or driving in the freezing rain and all that fun stuff, but they've never experienced that. So that's awesome.
Exactly. So it was that nice little moment, and it's funny, Oceania, there's often, one of the things that I see from kind of the cruise lines, they're often promising you these big kind of grandiose type things. But it's often these small memories that just kind of deliver that little bit of a difference to your cruise vacation. And at Oceania, we seem to be able to deliver them on either, the destinations that we're going into, either just the beautiful ships themselves and the great space and the people that you meet on board, or, the cuisine itself. We created such great memories in around the cuisine. It's just fantastic. So these small things make a big difference. And
they do.
That's
You've
really
got to get on board and enjoy it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed our chat this morning. Thank you. And I
Great
hope
as
all of our
always.
subscribers liked it too. It was really neat to learn about all the little nuances that just make up a wonderful voyage. So
Yep.
thank you for putting it together, and I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay. I hope everybody has a great week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching this week's cruise chat with Guillaume from Oceania Cruises. It was really nice to see how they do their immersion right into the places that they go with the naturalist right on board. And especially if you're in Alaska, they're going to be pointing out, the whale pods and some of the other things that you're just not going to you might miss and you're not going to see on your own, because I would hate to miss the northern lights if I'm sleeping. So that's great if they're going to wake you up. And the same thing with seeing the wildlife out there. It's just incredible. And I am floored at how fast the world cruises are selling out. So if you're looking to go for a world cruise, make sure you reach out to me really early. We'll get your name on a list. I'll make sure that you've picked your room. The itinerary is all approved by you ahead of time, because they put that out about a week before, and I'll get that called in and get you on board right away. So make sure that you reach out to me at info@plentyofsunshinetravel.com. And next week I'm going to actually be taking a couple of weeks off because I'm going to be going on holidays, but I'm going to be posting a lot of those videos. So if you're able to tune in, you should be able to see a lot of those videos I'm going to be posting from our vacations. At first, we're going to be doing Virgin Voyages down in the Caribbean. And then we're going to be going up to Alaska on Silver Sea. And then following that, I'm going to Alaska with my daughter on Celebrity. So that's super exciting. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. So make sure that you've subscribed to our channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.